Hi everybody. In one of those personal summary videos, either at the end of 2017 or the beginning of 2018, I mentioned a new focus that I'm hoping to do for myself, which I am most probably going to do off camera instead of the way things have been in the past. And so here I think I will continue to just carry on with my hobby and my passion, which is to look through symbolisms and archetypes and this wonderful thing that is becoming clearer and clearer to me is really 78 points or topics of universal conversations that we know as the tarot. And so I think I will continue on with that conversation on here. However, I did mention a reading list as part of my other exploration, which I have decided for now to do off camera. So in front of you here are a stack of books which actually kind of just accidentally piled on here because I shared with you that I had a bit of a leak and I had to rearrange my stacks of books, and some of them landed on here and some of them landed elsewhere. So I'll just do a quick rundown of my reading list as we take a look at this stack of books, and then maybe I'll go through each of the books a little closer. I'll flip through the pages in a separate video. So this one here is a book called Mysticism. This was recommended to me by a viewer. Apparently, I've never heard of it. It's a classic from the early 1900s by somebody called Evelyn Underhill. I think first edition is 1911 or 1913. And this is a facsimile of the earlier or second edition perhaps. But it's fascinating. It has somebody's hand scribbled notes and underlying pen. I think someone's underlined it. It looks as if somebody have photocopied it. And this is a series by people called Forgotten Books. And I think they are, I didn't intend to buy a facsimile. I don't know, this just popped up on Book Depository. And so I just clicked on it. Anyway, I'll show you that in a part 2 video maybe. This one here is a book by Hermann Hesse, or is that Hermann Hesse, called Siddhartha. I heard about that book here on YouTube. Someone mentioned it because I remember thinking, is this a biography of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha? Or whether this is just a character called Siddhartha and that the story is influenced by Buddhism, or the story of this particular philosophy in India. It's actually the latter. This one here is called God is Disappointed in You. It's a comic graphic novel. It's not actually part of my reading list. I'm not quite sure why that's there, but you know, there's no accident, so maybe I will go through that this year. I've gone through it. I can go through it again. It's graphic novel. It's not hard to look through. Next is, again, not really part of my reading list. It's called Street Corner Society by William Foote Whyte. If you are a student of sociology, you would know that this is an absolute classic. And I have no idea how I ended up reading it at university when I think it's because somebody mentioned it, and I think because I wanted to do sociology and I ended up doing psychology instead. I definitely was drawn to sociology, anthropology, and social psychology, cultural anthropology, social psychology, and sociology. So I've always been fascinated with human social interactions, and that is symbolic, you know, symbolism, rituals, culture, language, you name it. That's an absolute, it's an amazing book. I could highly recommend that. That is not part of my reading list, but I may touch on it this year. I don't know. It's here for a reason. I'm thinking maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Caliban and the Witch by Sophia Federici. Again, I think it's one book that has been widely cited, not only in... I have seen this cited in two very distinct fields of inquiry, and that's before. I didn't know that when I bought this book. I think I heard about this book by accident, just doing one of those things that you do on YouTube. You kind of just follow the rabbit trail and you ended up elsewhere. And I've listened to a short lecture that Sophia Federici gave, I think, in something. I honestly can't remember. I just saw her or listened to her talk, and it was fascinating. And To Bless the Spaces Between Us is a book by John O'Donoghue. I have no idea he or this book existed until Cassia from Tarot Map. Back then, I know her channel as Cassia Tafalarota. I really miss that name, Cassia Tafalarota. I like saying Tafalarota. Anyway, and then this one here is Dictionary of Symbols. And then this one here is The Fire Tried Stone by John Trenick. John Trenick is the artist that Whyte engaged in the creation of his second deck, which I don't think is ever published. This one here is a book by Scarlet Imprint that has become out of print, this particular edition, called Crossed Keys. It is a grimoire that has both, what do you call it? In it, there is, I don't know what the term is, but there is spells using Christian psalms from the Bible, and so I am not intending to do spells, but for me this is an artifact of that Renaissance magic where religion and magic intersect. I see this particular book as a piece of artifact, the first that I have and the only one so far. So I will use this as a primary source for my my current exploration. Underneath here is the Bible, the Christian Holy Book. That one there is I think, New Living Translation version. The translation version for Bibles and for all ancient sacred texts, I believe, is vital. I will never use the King James Bible or the New King James Bible or any translations which are very conservative, that is word to word. And also the King James Bible, I think, have issues with translating into English, not primary sources, but I think secondary sources. And so that any mistakes that have occurred in the first translation round is not only copied and perpetuated, but exacerbated in the King James English version of it. I think that work was done in the 1600s. Knowledge and archaeological knowledge and linguistic or archaeological linguistic knowledge are not quite as good as they are now, and all the rest of it. So the King James version is very poetic, but I personally believe is not the most accurate and it's not the best to go by if you really want to study the Christian or the Abrahamic, Christian sacred texts. So the New Living Translation and the New International Version, I believe, are translations that have been done thoughts for thoughts. So they translate thoughts rather than words. And if you are bilingual like me, you would know that translating words sometimes can be the biggest mistake that you could ever do in trying to translate messages. Underneath is Lucifer Princeps, which I perhaps have mentioned before, by Scarlet Imprint, studying the genesis of Lucifer. Underneath it is Star.Ships, again by Scarlet Imprint. It's written by Gordon Whyte. Gordon Whyte has a series of podcasts and a YouTube channel called Rune Soup, as well as a blog. Underneath it is 2 volumes of something that I think I may not tackle this year, because I realize these 2 volumes is part of a larger body of encyclopedia. And so I may have to read the first part of that series before I dive into this one. And underneath that is the Apocalyptic Witchcraft, which is not new to a lot of you, but is definitely new to me. And so that is what that is my reading list for this year. I think it's a bit ambitious, to be honest, so I can only cross my fingers and hope that I can go through them all, and perhaps in 2019 talk more readily about them and about the topic involved here with you guys. I'm sorry again about the noises in the background. It's very unpleasant, but people are doing renovations because it is a lovely, sunny, warm, dry summer's month still here, and so I'm still indoors, still recovering from my sunburn, and I will talk to you later. Bye.